What is going on, guys? My name is Brett, and welcome back to Monsters and Madmen, the channel where we talk all things horror, the people who live it, and the legends that refuse to die. Today, I have a very special video for you guys. Today, I'm going to be looking over and ranking from worst to best the entire Evil Dead franchise. Full disclosure, by the way, I love every movie in this franchise. There's really not one that is hands down 100%. This movie sucks. I can't stand it. This is the worst movie I've ever seen. Every movie in this franchise, in my personal opinion, is pretty solid. This should go without saying, but of course, I am putting a spoiler warning in place, especially for Evil Dead Burn. I might be getting into some spoiler territory, so if you haven't seen Evil Dead Burn yet and you don't want to get anything ruined for you, maybe click off this video, go watch that movie, and then come back and watch this. But yeah, guys, with all that being said, no more rambling on. Let's get into my ranking. Starting things off, I do have a very quick honorable mention. Something that is part of the franchise, but I couldn't really rank it in this because it's not a film, it's a TV series, and that, of course, is Ash vs. Evil Dead. I wasn't sure how to include this. Part of me was going to include the individual seasons, and then the other part of me just wanted to include it as a show. But I was trying to rank it along with movies, and it's just not really a fair shake putting a television series with 3 seasons worth of content up against films that are only like an hour and a half, an hour 45 minutes long. But I knew I definitely wanted to talk about this show, so I just decided to put it on here as an honorable mention. Had I actually chosen to put this series in the ranking, it probably would have ranked very high because this show is just a lot of fun. This show takes that cocky, kind of badass version of Ash Williams that we met in Evil Dead 2 and amplifies it by a million. He's a badass. He's funny. Bruce Campbell plays him to perfection in this series. Even the side characters in this series, and when I say side characters, I'm simply saying characters that aren't Ash Williams because they're really main characters. I'm talking about Pablo and Kelly. They're fantastic. I love everything about the cast. I love everything about this show. From the first episode to the last, it's just a ton of fun. Every episode has something to enjoy. But again, with that being said, not once does it get stale, not once does it get boring. It just takes the ball and it friggin' runs with it. And it was a incredible send off to Ash Williams, assuming we won't see that character anymore in the franchise. I wish the show could have gotten a proper ending. However, for the time that it was on, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah, had I had this show in the actual ranking, like I said, it would have been probably pretty high. But I don't. I just want to talk about it here. So now let's get into the actual numbers. Starting us off at number 6, bottom of the barrel. Still a good movie, still a watchable movie. Just one I didn't enjoy as much as the other ones. I gave you guys the spoiler warning. It goes into effect right now because the number 6 spot is Evil Dead Burn. I know a lot of people are complaining about this movie for being too brutal or too mean-spirited, and that's not my issue with it at all. Those people sound like they've never seen an Evil Dead movie in their life. They are very brutal and they are very mean-spirited. This one just didn't work with me for a variety of different reasons. For one, it felt a little bit lazy. It wasn't as memorable as the other ones. And what I mean by that is I could really watch any Evil Dead movie one time, and there's something that seriously stuck with me forever. The only scenes to me that were really memorable or really stood out was, for one, the dinner scene. That was pretty intense, where you see this guy, you know there's something wrong with him, you know he's possessed by a Deadite. He just keeps kind of subtly grabbing sharp objects. He grabs a corkscrew, he grabs a knife, and until eventually he does go nuts and start stabbing the crap out of their family dog. Very dark, very brutal scene. But then after that, it's really done. It's really just a downhill slope for the rest of the film. The opening was cool with the it connecting Evil Dead Rise to Evil Dead Burn. That was neat. The deaths of the 2 fishermen in the beginning were very good. I really enjoyed the one guy literally being boiled alive in the lake was insane. And then the dinner scene was intense, and that was really it. There was a few little things here and there, but other than that, nothing crazy. Sure, you could say that it's the darkest Evil Dead movie, that it's the goriest Evil Dead movie, and I honestly just don't agree. I think there's one in the franchise that's more so both of those things than this one was. So even those two distinctions to separate it and make it be able to stand on its own 2 feet without being a part of this franchise like every other Evil Dead has managed to do, not even that really works for me. And we're getting into nitpicking territory now, but I will say there is a second post-credit scene. And again, this is a big spoiler, so if you haven't seen the movie, please click off and go watch it. There is a post-credit scene where Ellie, the Deadite from Evil Dead Rise, returns and she's back, and I believe she kills a girl. That obviously makes no sense, as she was, first of all, she became that big glob of Deadites, and then she was chainsawed and thrown into a wood chipper to the point where she was just mush. That just seemed to me like fan service for the sake of fan service, and I really don't like that. If you're gonna bring a character back, it should make sense. It shouldn't be out of nowhere. And this one definitely was, and I don't see it being able to go anywhere in the franchise. I really just think it was fan service. But yeah, guys, enough going on about Evil Dead Burn. It was a good movie in its own right. It was a good addition to the franchise. I just don't think it has the legs to stand on its own, just like every other film does. So Evil Dead Burn is sitting here at the bottom at number 6. Coming in at number 5, I have the most unique Evil Dead film, Army of Darkness. This is, of course, the third movie in the franchise. This is when Ash Williams gets teleported to medieval times and he has to fight off Deadites in a castle. It's a badass movie. And this is kind of what I was talking about in this list, where there's not a single Evil Dead movie that I really don't like, because between Evil Dead Burn and Army of Darkness, I love this movie, even though it is so low on this list. How can you not love Ash Williams with his chainsaw hand and boomstick in medieval times fighting Deadites with knights? That's awesome. You have the whole thing going on with evil Ash, Ash's evil clone that he thought he killed, returning to the castle with an army of Deadites and skeletons, and there's some really cool stop motion going on in this scene, and it's just chaos. And remember how I said how much I loved Ash Williams in Ash vs. Evil Dead? This movie right here might be the only other thing in this franchise that really competes with that. He's a badass. He gets a lot of his cool, quirky one-liners. And the only reason that Army of Darkness is really low on this list is because there's times where it's a little bit too funny. This movie kind of goes full-on Three Stooges slapstick comedy at times. There's times when it works, and then there's times where it really doesn't work as well. Army of Darkness, to me, is actually better as a standalone film than it is an actual part of this franchise. If I was just judging this movie off a one-time standalone watch as opposed to a part of the Evil Dead franchise, I would probably be singing its praises way, way louder. But other than that very nitpicky thing, too much slapstick comedy, Army of Darkness is a very good film. I truly, truly enjoy it. It is a great addition to the Evil Dead franchise, and it stands in right here at number 5 on my list. Coming in at number 4, I have 2013's Evil Dead. This was the sort of soft reboot to the franchise, directed by Fede Alvarez. And everything that I was saying earlier about Evil Dead Burn, how people are saying that that's the darkest, that's the most brutal Evil Dead movie, I think it's this one. I don't think Evil Dead Burn or any other film in this franchise holds a candle to how brutal and how mean-spirited this movie is. I would also argue that this is the scariest Evil Dead movie. Evil Dead 2013 takes the comedy that was getting injected into the Evil Dead franchise, completely tosses it in the trash, lights it on fire, and then throws the ashes off a cliff, and just goes full on dark horror. It's terrifying, it's brutal, it's disgusting. It has one of the best finales in the franchise, in my opinion, with the abomination coming out of hell to attack our hero Mia. The plot of Evil Dead 2013 makes sense. It's a bunch of people trying to rid their friend of drugs, trying to take her to their own form of rehab by secluding her in this cabin out in the middle of the woods. It makes sense that they would think she's acting crazy when she's actually possessed. They don't really question it much. It would make sense why they would stay there. Mia, by the way, plays one of the most memorable, most creepy Deadites in the entire franchise. I could sit here and I could sing this movie's praises all day long, but Evil Dead 2013, Fede Alvarez, Such an incredible movie, such a brutal movie. If you want an Evil Dead movie that is just straight up horror, brutal, gory, you're not going to get one better than this. So, with that being said, Evil Dead 2013 is on my list, comfortably in the middle at number 4. Coming up next in my number 3 spot, I have the original Evil Dead. Released in 1981, directed by Sam Raimi on a shoestring budget. This is another one of those Evil Dead movies where comedy is completely sidelined. It's straight up horror. It's brutal. It's gory. Basically, take everything I said about Evil Dead 2013 and put it into this movie. Maybe not as intense. Of course, this one came out in the early 80s, so they were working with what they had. So maybe not as intense, but the only Evil Dead movie, by the way, to actually hit an NC-17 rating. Banned in multiple countries when it came out. We, of course, meet Ash in this movie for the very first time. Nowhere near as badass as he would become in the next 2 films, but he's here. Some genuinely scary Deadites in this movie. The original Deadite stuck in the basement trope started here. The Deadite singing, sitting there on the floor singing, terrifying. Yeah, this is a classic, man. One of my favorite horror films of all time, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I can compare this movie to that. It's just bare bones, brutal, made on a barely any budget. There's nothing else to really say here, man. It's Evil Dead. It's bare bones. It's nasty. It's great. The original Evil Dead sits here on my list at number 3. Now moving on to my top 2 with number 2, which is Evil Dead Rise. Is it a bit of a hot take to have this movie so high on my list? Maybe. I don't care. Evil Dead Rise is friggin' awesome. The setting to this movie is very neat. An old apartment building. Our characters are stuck up on the top floor. The new version of the Necronomicon that we see in this movie is very cool with the teeth. So many memorable scenes in this movie. You have the bathtub scene where we first see Ellie in full-on Deadite form. You have the scene with the cheese grater. You have the scene at the end with the wood chipper. You have all the views through the peephole in the door. Alyssa Sutherland, of course, plays Ellie, the primary Deadite in this movie, to perfection. She is easily my favorite Deadite in the entire franchise. To me, just everything about this movie is damn near perfect. I loved every second of it. I don't get the hate for this movie whatsoever. I think it is a damn near perfect Evil Dead. I know a lot of people were pissed off that Ash wasn't in it. Who cares? I think it was perfect. I think it really is currently the standard for these new Evil Dead movies. But yeah, Evil Dead Rise is going to be sitting here number 2 on my list, and I am not changing my mind on that. And finally, my number 1, we all knew what it was going to be. Number 1 is, of course, Evil Dead 2. This took everything from that first movie and essentially perfected it. This is a perfect Evil Dead movie. There is nothing wrong with this film whatsoever. The only small, very tiny thing that I guess I could complain about with this film is the fact that it was forced to be a soft reboot of the original due to rights issues or something, but honestly, it really doesn't hurt the film that much. They made it work. This is the first time we get real badass Ash Williams in here getting his one-liners. He gets his chainsaw hand in this movie. Just everything. This is the bar for Evil Dead. There is nothing that is ever going to top it. This is the standard. This is one of my favorite films of all time. And yeah, I mean, what can I say about Evil Dead 2 that hasn't already been said? The Deadite Henrietta is iconic. The scene with the deer laughing, all the furniture laughing with Ash Williams is iconic. Some incredible practical effects work there. The whole scene with Ash Williams fighting his own hand, it's as terrifying as it is hilarious. Bruce Campbell should have won every award under the sun for this movie. And to have it culminate with a ginormous monster breaking in through the cabin and taking Ash into medieval times where the movie ends. It's just a perfect film. There's nothing else I could say about it. Evil Dead 2 is hands down the best Evil Dead movie. But yeah, guys, that was my ranking of this franchise. Let me know yours. What is your favorite Evil Dead movie and what is your least favorite Evil Dead movie? And what are your thoughts on the franchise as a whole? As always, I'm Brett. This has been Monsters and Madmen. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook. We're on Spotify with my interviews. We are everywhere. So we're on Threads. So if you want to follow Monster Madmen, please make sure you do so. But yeah, guys, that is it. That has been my entire ranking of the Evil Dead franchise. I love these movies so much. It was a blast to watch all of them again. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching.